Welcome to the Conscious Radio Network's YouTube channel. Become enlightened, have fun, and tell all your friends and family to share with everyone they know. You can find us on Facebook and stay up to date on our Facebook group, or find us on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. Our podcasts can be found on Libsyn, iHeart, Spotify, Google Podcasts, and more. Most of all, remember to go to our official website at consciousradionetwork.com for podcasts, hosts, future shows, and scheduling. We also want to welcome our international audience. Don't stop now. Enjoy the community. Subscribe today.
This is the Conscious Radio Network.
Good morning, afternoon, or evening, wherever you might be on this spaceship we call Earth. Welcome to Conscious Radio Network's weekly podcast series, The Seance. I'm your host, Reverend Dr. Paul Meckes. If this is your first time watching or listening, please click subscribe, like, share, follow, comment, and also don't forget to follow wherever you listen to your podcasts. Today, manifest the life you have always desired. With us today is a seasoned serial entrepreneur, engineer, marketing specialist, and a nationally recognized talk show host on both the internet and AM/FM radio, driven by his passion for motivating others to become the best versions of themselves. His flagship show, IFYL, Inspirations for Your Life, has achieved a significant milestone with over 74,000 downloads, and testament to the compelling stories and insightful discussions he brings to his listeners. And there's a lot more, which we are going to get into. Let's welcome to the show for the first time, John C. Morley.
Well, Dr.
Welcome, brother. How you doing?
It's a privilege, pleasure, and honor to be with you here on this wonderful morning, afternoon, evening, whatever part of the world we're in. It's great to be with you and your wonderful listeners and viewers all around the world.
And it's an honor to have you with us. Definitely.
Thank you.
So, before we actually jumped into the recording, you actually got done doing some shows yourself on loving kindness and treating people with respect. Let's get into that. What's going on?
So every week, I come up with a master topic, and tonight another one starts again because it's a Saturday, and so the topic starts and it rolls with a week and finishes on a Friday. Well, I get these ideas or these brain spurs all of a sudden. They could be at 2 a.m. in the morning. I'll wake up and I'll write something. I got to do a show on that. And so I said, kindness is something that a lot of people feel they have to be, but they don't necessarily want to be it.
Yeah.
So you can't be kind if you don't want to be kind. Lots of people say, gee, I want to be kind. You know why? I want to get something. I want to get what he's got. Or I know he's going to do something for me if I'm kind to him. He's going to like me. And see, that's the wrong reason. I would say if you're being kind and there's a motive other than just trying to be nice, don't be kind. Mm-hmm. Because it's going to bite you in the backside. Maybe not today, maybe not tomorrow, maybe not even this month or even this year. But I promise you, friends, it will bite you very hard. Oh, and you're going to wonder, like, how did I fall into this trap? So kindness is really the language that talks to people, whether you are blind, whether you can't hear. You could be kind to people regardless of whether they have a disability or not. And that's what I love about kindness. It is the universal language for showing appreciation to everyone in a very deep way. So if somebody can't see, how can you be kind to someone who can't see? Well, you can put your stuff in Braille. You can. But you have to be careful that when you help somebody, or if somebody, let's say, can't hear, and you've got to show them something, right? You got to make sure that they're okay with it, because if you're doing something and now it's like they don't want you to do it, that's bad. Is it okay if I do this for you? Is that okay? Because sometimes you want to be helpful, but by being helpful, you're putting somebody down. You have to realize if somebody doesn't have, let's say, an ability, whether it's walking or it's talking or it's seeing, you have to realize that puts them in a low place. So you have to be, is it okay if I help you with this? Is it okay if I read you the first chapter?
Mm.
You've got to be a little humble. And what we just learned this week with wrapping up, we have close to about 100. We're about 150,000 now on our downloads.
Wow.
We basically with kindness, it comes down to the point that we want to be kind because we want to be, not because we have to be. So
Yeah.
why should I be kind? Well, I just told you it's the magical language of the universe to help things kind of flow. It's like the lubricant, right, that allows your motor to go. And so when you're kind, things just kind of go naturally. They go with the
Hmm.
flow, no pun intended. So if somebody's giving you a hard time, I don't care if it's at the store or if it's wherever it is. A perfect example I use is I'm on the airline, and maybe I'm trying to get a different seat or something, and there was
Yeah.
and I was like, I know you probably can't help me. I was just wondering, is there any potential? Or before we do, I'm like, oh, I love that shirt. That's a nice that, right? That's not really. I secretary's name was Stephanie. Stephanie, I was hoping you can help me out. I know you probably can't. Is there any possible way? You see, I'm a tall dude here. I need to get bulkhead. I need to get seats that are going to give me a little better knee room. You can see I'm tall. I'm like 5'10". Anything you could do for me would be so greatly appreciated. Let me see. I'll be right back. So she comes back and says, I don't know what I can do. She says, but I think I can get you in the bulkhead. I'm not promising. So then she comes over there and she gets me over to the bulkhead. See, when you don't have the expectation and you put it on their head, like I'm just saying, whatever you can do, I appreciate it. Like
Yeah.
snaps, could you happen to give me another one? I think I can. You have to make it so it's like no big deal. Not like it's gonna like be the be all end all. If they don't do it, it's not gonna ruin things. So being kind allows us to raise the dopamine level in our brain and the
Hmm.
serotonin level. When we do that, Dr. Paul, it actually causes us to have not only a great connection, but we cause a chemical connection.
Yeah.
So when that chemical connection happens, it's like we forgot to get a natural high in our brain. And this just allows us to just love and live life at every single moment. And so, when somebody is hard to you or there's a challenge, I say to myself, well, gee, how can I be kind to this person? Regardless of whether I'm going to get what I want or not, how can I just be a little bit kind to this person? I see the people in the store that are in a rush. Oh, Paul, thank you so much for bagging my groceries. I appreciate that. And I appreciate you putting the milk in the other bag so it didn't split my eggs. And that might not make a big deal, but the fact is that made somebody feel good. And if
Yeah.
I can make just one person feel good a day, whether it's on my program or whether it's in person, I feel I've lived a good morning or a good milestone for the day.
Yeah. Seems like a lot of people feel like they have to try to be kind, though. It's like, but I feel that we have that Jekyll and Hyde part of
Yep.
us. We all naturally want to be kind to everybody. We want to go out and treat people with dignity, kind and kind and loveness.
Okay.
But at the same time, it's like you walk out the door, next thing you know, something triggered you, and now you're an
Jekyll
a-hole
or
for the
Hyde
rest
all
of
of a
the
sudden
day.
kicked in. But then you answered a good question here, Dr. Paul. Why is it then, this is what I went into, why is it people don't want to be kind? We said that people want to be kind. You and I know that people, they mean the best. A lot of times when I have somebody, I was involved doing a charity for a play, and there are a few people that were a little bit hard. They weren't the nicest. So at the end of the play, I typed thank you notes to everyone.
Hmm.
And the people that were a little hard, I said, I'll just make somebody's name up. Karen, that wasn't the name. Hey, Karen, listen, it was great working with you. I know your heart is always in the right place, even though we might have not clicked all the time.
Yeah.
And they didn't say a word, but they knew that I was aware of what they were doing, but it didn't make them feel bad, but it kind of made them sink a little bit. So I think the reason, Dr. Paul, why people don't want to be kind, it's not that they don't want to be, it's because of something that happened to them previously.
Hmm.
Maybe, I don't know, maybe you're on the tennis court, maybe you're swimming, and maybe you got shown off by somebody who was bigger and better than you, or maybe smaller than you and happened to get bigger and beat you in time. Could be a runner, could be anything. And because this happened, it's like you lost face.
Yeah.
And you don't want that to happen again. So I always say when, the ego gets in the way, and I call ego edging God out. When the ego gets in the way, that becomes a problem. Now, I know the shows may not be religious, and I try not to make my shows real, but I do have some great gratitude moments. I'm grateful for a lot of things. And every morning, I make sure that I give gratitude for lots of things, but I feel the gratitude in my heart. I also give gratitude for having a moment to talk to Saint Anthony, basically Saint Joseph, Saint Jude, and also Saint Michael.
Mm.
And just having that few moments just to be grateful for the time. Hey, guys, thank you so much for listening to me. I just appreciate if you could just watch over me today, make sure I don't do anything stupid, make sure that I don't miss anything you're supposed to send me,
Yeah.
Things like that. And I find that when we have that ounce of gratitude, we start being grateful for, maybe it's the fact that, you had a great breakfast. Maybe it's the fact that you got up. That's a great thing, right? We got up today. We got up. And it's another amazing day. Because you're going to hit people that are going to be ungrateful. You're going to hit people for lots of reasons. So the other reason people don't want to become, how can I say, to be kind, is they feel it's too much work for them.
Mm.
It's like they have a one-track mind. I'm not going to give you the person's name, but a friend of mine who I knew many, many years ago, a millennial, a few years younger than me, obviously. And it was funny because he would say to me, John, he's like, people are a waste of my time. I said, excuse me? He said, they're a waste of my time unless they're making me money or I'm making them money. He was in finances. He says, they're a waste of my time. I said, well, then I guess I must be a waste of your time. He's like, no, you're kind of different. So you don't fall into that mold. Oh. And it's like everything in life had to be revolving around him or he was just going to be angry.
Huh.
I'm like, you can't do that. He's like, yes, I can. And so regardless of whether you have a penny or you have $1 billion to your name, you got to be kind with what you have and not shove things in people's faces.
Yeah.
You've got to know that if you're doing something to be kind, if you're making a blessing bag, like maybe you're going to put lunch bags together, whatever you're going to give them out, don't sit there waiting for the thank you. Give a blessing bag out, wish them a nice day, and move on.
Yeah.
Don't be hanging out there waiting for the press to get there so they can write you up. If you got that, then you already got your thanks. The best kind of thanks, Dr. Paul, is when you can do it and no one knows about it. Now, of course, we all want to get our tax reward, but you don't want to really know about what you've given. Now, there might be some reasons, but usually you'll just say, hey, like if you're giving to a church, something, I know I gave it, but I'd like my donation to stay anonymous, if that'd be okay.
Mm-hmm.
And some people get that. And it also keeps you humble because when other people are like, oh, you gave that? Oh, I got to hit you up next time for something. It kind of keeps that anonymity. But I think another reason people are not kind is so it's a lot of work for them. They've been burnt in the past. That's probably number 2. And the third reason that people aren't kind is they don't really know the benefits that it can give them. They've never had, let's say, the opportunity to experience full-blown kindness.
Yeah.
Because anybody that's had the ability to experience full-blown kindness, they're going to want to keep living that moment. Maybe you were a kid and maybe took that toy truck away from you. And now you have that resistance held from you your whole life. Well, we got to go back to what was it? And this isn't a regression show, but we got to go back into the moment in time where you started not believing kindness when kindness was bad. And it never was bad. Remember, our life, Dr. Paul, is all about our perceptions.
Yeah.
Who we are right now, who we're becoming. We talk about our thoughts from yesterday make us today, today's today make us tomorrow. But it's our perceptions. What we see, what we experience in our mind is what becomes a reality. So your perceptions could be right, they could be wrong, but that's what will be so.
Yeah. Yeah. 100%. Absolutely. Now, segueing into manifesting what we want in our life, it definitely starts with loving kindness is definitely, and starting with that is a definite, because if we want good things, we have to be kind to everybody. So
we gotta be kind to everybody. We've got to be grateful to everyone. And, this
and
is the same
appreciative.
tactic I tell people, being in business for a long time. And when I started my very first company many years ago, which I still have, my tech company, when we first start a business, we start as a business owner, right? And we're very stressed. We have to keep the lights on, and we're not an entrepreneur yet. We're still trying to figure out whether we're going to sink the ship or whether we're going to keep it afloat.
Mm.
And we got a lot of wheels we're juggling. So when we get into the entrepreneur mode, we start to feel it, right? And we're doing it for that reason. If we're not kind, then things change. So if we become kind for just a moment, like let's say, for example, you're on a call, you're going to talk to somebody that has a challenge in their life.
Yeah.
And I'm going to pick something totally out of my industry. I'm going to pick, there's a painting up here. I don't sell paintings. So let's say I know that you are stressed at your home. Well, are you looking to do something about that stress? Well, maybe a Rembrandt, a certain type of painting might actually captivate you. Or I might say, hey, are you looking to do something about that stress? So there's other ways to handle it, but are you looking to solve that problem? And they're like, no, not really. Okay, no problem. Have a good day. Well, where are you going? Don't you sell paintings? I do, but you don't really want to solve the problem, so I'm just going to let you be, and I wish you a good day. Oh, what? I hope you have a great day. Thank you for your time. Thank you for the coffee. Thank you for the tea. You're a sales guy, right? Well, not really. I'm a consultant. I come out and I talk to people that have challenges, and some people want to solve them and some people don't. He goes, you're a wacko. Okay? Well, here's my number. If you ever want to have a talk again, I'll be happy to talk. He's like, all right. And one of two things happens. A, they say goodbye, and then they call me back where they're like, I want to buy a painting. Oh, you do? Yeah, I wanted to buy one yesterday, but you wouldn't let me. Well, no, you didn't want to solve a problem. Yeah, but what matters? You should have just shoved the painting down my throat. Well, that's how I operate. And so I know that sounds funny, but the thing is, when we're kind, we're doing things for the right reasons.
Yeah.
We're not doing it to put the money in our pocket. We're doing it to help people become the greater good of all concerned. So when we operate from that premise, other people can see that, hey, we're one of the good guys. Mm-hmm. You can tell people all day long you're a good guy, and it doesn't mean squat. You've got to have somebody else give you that accolade, or they've got to see what you're doing.
Yeah.
And when they see what you're doing, they start to realize, well, you might actually be one of the good guys. But if I say, hey, I'm one of the good guys, it doesn't matter. Because self-praise is worthless to someone that you don't know. And so kindness to me is something as simple. It could be a loved one, significant other, could be a friend, family member. Maybe you bring over, I don't know, maybe you bring them a box of chocolates. Maybe at work, you bring somebody a cup of coffee. You know that your secretary likes a double latte. Well, I brought you a double latte with an extra scoop or whatever in it or something.
Yeah.
Or you know that your boss happens to love the double Dunkin' Donut and you bring it into him. Now, you didn't bring it into him to get him to do something for you. You just did it to be kind. So when they say, hey, what did you do this for? No reason. I was in the Dunkin' Donuts. I had one. I know you liked them, so I just thought I'd get you one. And they don't really expect anything from it. And when you keep moving with that mentality of, I just did it because I just thought I'd be nice.
Yeah.
When you keep being nice over and over and over again without an expectation, the world changes. There was a great person, you might know him. It was Patanjali's, and Patanjali's taught Dr. Dwayne Dyer, a person I followed for many, many years. Actually, I started following motivation when I was, I'm going to tell you, when I was probably just exiting 8th grade of grammar school. I started following keynote people and stuff like that. And I was following Dr. Dwayne Dyer for many, many years until he passed away. And he said something very interesting. Because he learned this from Patanjali's. When we change the way we look at things, the things we look at change. When we change the way we look at things, the things we look at change. So people might say to me, John, well, why is it that it's still this way? Well, because your perception is still that way. You already told me that you don't believe it's possible. Well, it's not. Right. You've got to change your belief.
Mm.
Yeah, but that's not, well, if you can't change your belief, then you've already sabotaged yourself.
Yeah.
So I think that's hard for some people, Dr. Paul, that they don't realize that that happens. So when we think about manifestation, which is a great segue, as you said, manifestation doesn't just happen by us snapping our fingers and just, poofing some magic. I mean, that's not how it works. We get into a conditioned state. So one of the things I like to do is I like to write out a very detailed thing of where I see my life evolving into. And I do this maybe every 6 months. And I write very detailed things. And then I read that once a day, which is like a 2-page narrative.
Yeah.
And I feel the things in those two pieces, that 2-page paper. And so that gets me to think about it. So a lot of times you write stuff because it gets the pictures to form in your mind. Some people say, I can't form pictures. My picture maker is broken. No, it's just you haven't used it. But if I get you to think about something, or I get you to think about making popcorn, I bet you're all thinking about popcorn. You're probably thinking about something on your counter right now, whether you are making popcorn, maybe one of those oil pans. I remember getting that on my birthday many years ago. You have the oil pan, not the best, the most healthy way. You put a tablespoon or two of oil in there, and you put 2 things of Orel Redenbacher, kernels in there. And then when it's all done, you pop it over, you shake it. The other way of doing it is the microwave, which is a good way to kill yourself, because that is just, you're eating carcinogens, and that's just bad. But the way I make it today is air popping.
Yeah.
Doesn't have the same flavor. But when I talk about popcorn, you all know what I'm talking about. Or maybe you had a Jiffy Pop, which if you did, helped.
Those are fun.
They were fun, but they're worse than the microwave. I think they had a lot of carcinogens just built into the metal. So we all know what it's like to make popcorn, right? So what I generally say to people is, what is it you want in your life? Do you want a relationship? Do you want money? Do you want a trip? Do you want a different job? And okay, now we lock into what you want. Maybe you say, well, gee, I want a better job. Okay, what kind of job? I don't know. I want to work for myself. I don't want to work for anybody. And I want freedom. So I want a job where I have freedom, and I want to have more money than I'm able to spend in a given day. I want the money to come in faster than I can spend it. But then you have to go a step further, Dr. Paul, and say, okay, gee, what am I going to do with this money? You see, if your intent of getting that money is to be this big, pompous jerk, well, you're not going to get it.
Yeah.
Your intention of getting the money is you want to help others. Your intention of getting the money is what are you going to do with that? And you can think about all the things you're going to do, who you're going to help, what's going to go on. And you can have that all in your head, and you can write that down. And this is what makes this pathway so sustainable. And so your brain likes to help you do things that are going to help others. But a lot of people can't just do this. It's hard for them to if I told you to every day to, look at a piece of paper and read it, you'd be like, all right, I had enough. I did it 2 or 3 days. I don't want to do this anymore. Mm-hmm. Like, okay, I've been doing it. Didn't happen yet. So that thing might have not happened yet, but something else might have happened that's on the way to it.
Yeah.
So it might be the fact that you might have not gotten those $1 billion, but hey, you just got a new contract. And that new contract is bringing you in more money. Now, it might not be all the money you want, but it started. So you always have to be grateful for what you have. Thank you for the money I have in my wallet. Thank you for the health I have, right? That is very, very important. So what I tell people to do, and it's a really simple thing. It's just a very simple experiment. It's an anchoring technique. So I tell people to just take their hands. It's really simple. If you're left-handed or you're right-handed, so I am right-handed, so I'll use my left hand. And so what I tell people to do, first of all, is think about a moment in your life. Let's say maybe you imagine you have all this money. And you have all this money right now, and you want to go buy something. So what do you want to do? What's the first thing you want to buy? Do you want to buy a new car? What kind of car do you want to buy? What color is the car? When are you going to get the car? More details about the car. So kind of think about that. Maybe you decide you want to get some things for your friends, your family. You want to go buy them. You can't decide what you want to get. That's okay. We'll just get a couple of each. Okay, now what do you want to buy yourself? Going to go to that store that you like so much. They're going to do the custom shirt or the custom, let's say, suit and what have you. How does that make you feel? What is it that you enjoy about getting up every day and being wealthy? It's not being pompous. It's being a person that has freedom, and is able to make change in the world.
Yeah.
And that's pretty powerful. So if you think about that for a moment, I want you to think about this. I want you to think about all those things that are culminating, right? Thinking about all the gifts you could buy, all the people you would probably try to help, right? Think of all these great things you could be doing. The car, maybe you decide you want to get another car, no problem, because it doesn't matter, because you can have the car, any option, any price tag, any features, money's no limit. Doesn't matter. And so now that you know that, maybe you decide that you want to develop a better exercise routine. Maybe you're not motivated. Maybe you need to hire someone to do that. Well, that's what you're going to do. Maybe you're going to invest more into yourself. So these are all things, and you can see how this starting to make you feel. Now, as you're in that mall, or maybe you're at that great restaurant, the restaurant that you're probably not going to because that restaurant's 3 times the price of all the other ones. But now you know you're worth it. And you're destined to go to more restaurants like this. Restaurants your friends would probably say you're nuts. That's why you have to get your friends. But the point is that how are you feeling right now? You're feeling really good. And feeling right now that you have exactly in that money, you look at your phone and you're like, oh my gosh, there's so many zeros in my account. I don't know what I'm going to do. Like, what do you think is the first thing you want to buy? If you see that, what's the first thing you want to buy right now? Give me an example. What's the first thing you'd want to get? Give our viewers an example.
And I really don't know. I mean, I got the car I want. I got the house I want. And that's the thing. It's like the materialism thing is going right. Is going bye. I would invest it in other people.
Okay. So you invest in other people. You feel great about that, and then that's going to come back. That can help you a little bit, but the whole thing is maybe you just want to use it to invest in other people, or maybe to have shared experiences.
Yeah.
As they call them, once in a lifetime experiences.
I'd use it for hiring expenses, because I mean I can hire production help, hire some producers and stuff like that, outsource some of my stuff. And
so that already feels great, doesn't it? It already feels great that is just getting to a point where you're able to just now think about all these things happening, and all these people are just so into this that they're working, they're getting the money, but to them the money's just one piece for them. The money is a part of their life, but they're more concerned about living toward a mission. And the mission is the fact that they're making this world a better place. And so now, when you can feel that, Dutch Paul, and everyone else listening and watching, if you can feel that so high, whatever that thing is that you're going to do, whether it's buying that car, whether it's buying that sweater, whether it's buying that jewelry, whatever it is, what is it? Feel that. It feels so crazy, right? I bet you can feel yourself almost ready to explode. And when you can feel yourself ready to explode, take your right hand and index finger and just take it and pinch right here in between. And just keep thinking how good that feels. You're now able to get all the production help you need. You're able to get all the additional luxuries you may not have wanted, but they're going to be there. And you're going to be able to share them with more friends, more family, to help them grow their empires. And just at that moment, let go. So now what we did is we just create an anchor. So now if you take your thumb and index finger and you just pinch there, you'll start to notice the feelings come back. Now you can do this a couple times so it gets stronger. Generally, I recommend doing it 4 or 5 times. But this is what happens when we create anchors, when we create a automatic pattern. Because, we've all had habits, right? Whether it's some bad habits, like we're younger, some people, we're always pulling our socks up and you're like, can't get out of that habit for a while. Or there's some other habits people have from lots of things, right? So if we could set up good habits in our life and break the bad habits, we're basically running a lean, mean, efficient machine. And I think that's the thing that people don't realize. You're running yourself in negativity only because you're not getting rid of those programs that got put into your head. So we have to watch our language. That's probably the most key thing.
Yeah. Huh. Yeah, and it's kind of like with the law of attraction, how we put these symbols out. Just by thinking, just by thinking of something, that thought is creative. especially when we add the emotion into it and the
Yes.
feeling and the visualization, we add all that into it. It starts to manifest it.
Yes, and the real cool part of this is that our brain is not what causes the manifestation. See, I thought it was the brain for years and years and years. Then I did some studying, and I realized, and I went to heart math, and I realized it's not our brain that's doing the manifesting. It's our heart. Our heart emits magnetic waves. It's electrical. Anything electrical has magnet. Anything magnetic has electrical. So our heart is able to amplify that manifestation. Okay, it's able to empower it. This is why when you have this great thought and when you're with somebody and they can literally feel, say, gee, I really like being in his energy. I really like being in her energy. He didn't say much. That's all right. Just like being with him. I want to be with him again. So they can feel your energy. That's why when somebody's around you and they're not comfortable with you, they want to get out of your energy. Even if you don't say anything, it's because the energy of your heart is pushing away rather than pulling together like a magnet. And you can affect that. So when we create it in our mind, that's fine. But you have to realize something. Our brain has connections to our heart. But here's the funny part. Our heart has 5 connections to every connection our brain has to our heart. 5 connections to every one it has to the heart. That means the heart is the chief executive officer of your body, not your brain. Your heart runs your brain.
I believe that.
And when we start to realize that it's our heart that we have to get into, it's our heart that we have to think about. It's our heart that needs to manifest. And you can literally just put your focus on your heart. Put your hand on it, and you can feel it there and feel it. Like if you felt a great feeling with somebody, feel it in your heart. And you'll start to notice that comes back again. You can't feel in your mind. People try to feel this. I'm trying to feel good. I'm trying to feel good. Oh, I can't feel it. I can't feel the feeling. I can't feel love. Just relax. Just feel it with your heart. Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's relaxing. That's it. So I think a lot of people get impatient because they want it now. And, other people are not all going to be at the level you're at. So when you're at this level, people are like, well, what are you doing? You're nuts. A lot of people tell me I'm nuts. It's okay. It's always going to take a few. And I always say to people, look, I said, that's okay if they say I'm nuts, but you know you're successful. And this is a joke. I tell people, but it's the truth. You know you're successful when your enemies or the people, I don't want to say enemies, the people that are kind of a little against you, they either ask for a job or they ask for one of their family members to get a job with you. It's like they don't want to admit that you're on the right track. But I feel that when we can do something to help others, I mean, that's a great thing, Dr. Paul. But I think so many people are like, well, if I do this, what am I going to get out of it? What am I going to get out of it? Well, what do you mean you're going to get out of it? Well, like, what do I get out of it? Like, and they want to manipulate people. And I say, well, if you manipulate someone, you might be successful, but eventually that's going to bite you. And so they're like, well, what do you mean you could just trick the mind? Yeah, you can only trick the mind for so long. And the mind's going to realize, hey, you're a bad guy. You're a manipulator. I'm not believing you anymore. and this is what happens. And the reason people keep doing things every day is because there are programs that have been installed in you since birth. And these programs they're called lots of things. So Dianetics, they call them engrams. These programs actually get you to operate a certain way, whether you want to or whether you don't. So you have to realize that this is what's happening. I don't want to feel that way. And there's lots of techniques we can use to discharge things. I had a client one time that it was an older gentleman, and he was reading Harry Potter. Great and good book. And his uncle was making fun of him for reading Harry Potter. He's like, men don't read Harry Potter. It's not a book you should be reading. You should be reading about war and killing. So he brings him a book from the Civil War. but he doesn't want to read that.
Yeah.
So it makes him feel very badly about, being able to hold his head up high and all this. So I worked with him a couple times, and when we finished, I said, so how do you feel about your uncle? He says, I don't care. I said, what do you feel about reading the book? I don't care. What do you feel about reading the book in front of your uncle, showing him the Harry Potter book and how excited you are? And he's like, well, I don't know. So we do the technique a few more times. He's like, I don't care what he says. I'm happy I'm reading it. And that's all that matters. So I think when other people step on your joy, which no one has the right, and I've said this before in all my stuff, no one has the right to make you feel inferior about yourself, whether that's the race, religion, sexual orientation, creed, color, political party, I don't care what it is. No one has the right to make you feel inferior about yourself except for one person, you.
Yeah.
So my only question is, why would you want to make yourself inferior? You're the only one that could, but why would you want to do that to yourself? That wouldn't be very kind, would it?
No.
So you wouldn't want to do that. And I think people do it because they think it's like they want to play the martyr. And they feel that if they're the martyr, that, everything's just going to work out because, I'm just going to play the martyr role. No, that's just going to get you sick. And so I think a lot of people understand the fact that these things happen to them, but they don't realize for a long time that they want to do something about them. It's not until you can literally show them, well, look, you remember how you did this, and this? Yes. Remember every time we do this, you're always doing that? Yes. Well, wouldn't you like to have more control over your life? Well, I have control. Well, every time you're here, you always do that. Yeah, but that's because I want to. Well, let's just pretend for one time that you don't want to. Could you do that? Let's just pretend for one time that you don't want to and don't do it. Yeah, I could do that. Great. So we come through. I said, he says, well, I didn't want to. I didn't want to do it that time. You just told me that you were not going to do it. I know, but I still wanted to. I said, so you're still conditioned. This is. I don't want to deal with this tonight. Like this is too much in my head. And so you have to realize that you got to take baby steps with people. Yeah. Having background in clinical hypnosis, and I got all into this in neurolinguistic programming because when I became an engineer, I said, I don't know the language of people. I don't know the language of the mind. I don't know the language of communication. So I said, I just need to learn the communication language of our body. And when I can learn that, then it's the next step. Another milestone I'm making right now is I'm going back for my master's in computer science, artificial intelligence specialty. And I said, I want to learn the language of large language models. It's just another language. So people are languages too, but how we interpret, how we communicate is very, very important. And being someone that's able to speak and share something, but then when you're listening, not listening to respond, listening to understand.
Yeah.
Many people we talk to today, it's like they're already trying to interject a point, but they're not really concerned about understanding. They just want to listen to respond. And when you do that, it becomes a great big problem. So I think the biggest thing I can share with people tonight is that this is not a 5-second magic pill. This is a daily practice that you need to adopt. It's a daily practice of loving yourself. It's a daily practice saying, hey, look, I don't need to be so hard on myself right now. I really don't. And if I'm not so hard on myself, let me just appreciate the steps I've taken. Let me just appreciate where I was and where I've come from. But some people, they're like, well, this person's over there. And they see where the person's gone and they're like, oh, I want to be there. But the reason that they get so upset is they don't realize that the rest of their life is not as in balance as you think it is. They put on this great facade. Like this friend I was telling you about. He was great in the financial world, but we took him out of the financial world and put him in any social environment or any environment at home. He was a basket case because he was designed to control everything. And when he couldn't control everything, he got angry. See, that's a personality disorder. Yeah. And I like to say that these are not things wrong with a person because nothing's wrong with anybody. It's something we want to change, a behavior. We're never trying to change a person. We're just trying to alter the behavior that that person is eliciting.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. So before we close the show, I'd like you to share how people can actually go find you. We have your
You can
link.
go to that link, or you can
You
go to
have the link tree. Yeah.
believemeachieve.com, the link tree, or believemeachieve.com, either one. And I have the IFYL Daily Show that goes into a podcast 24 hours later. I also have JMore Tech Talk. I have probably close to 18 posts we do a day with our different companies where we post a lot of controversial things. We posted something very interesting about McDonald's
Yeah.
and the fact that, if you heard what happened, but McDonald's went down not too long ago. They went down and they were basically crippled because their online ordering system was totally down.
Whoa.
So you would think a big multi-company like this would have a backup plan, right?
Yeah.
No. So you're probably saying, gee, they got hit by ransomware. No, they didn't get hit by ransomware.
Huh.
They claim that this happened because, and they won't tell us what company, a third-party company that was doing this made a configuration mistake and sent all their systems offline. So there was no backup. There was no way they could take orders. And I said, I don't think this was an accident. I think this was done on purpose by this company to let McDonald's know that they got them by the you-know-what. They asked for more money. Guess what? You know you're going to give it to us. You know what it was like being down, don't you, for 3 days? Well, how'd you like to be down forever?
Wow.
I just feel that just didn't happen to hundreds of locations around the world. But shame on them for not having a backup plan that would allow them to take orders. So those are the kinds of things we talk about and other kinds of stuff. But yeah, check out all my great content. There's lots of stuff that you can, digest. And what I like to say is, sink into these nuggets and figure out what's going to resonate with you, whether it's a motivational topic, maybe it's something in the tech world, or maybe it's just something that somebody's not sharing with you, like the fact that right now a new breed of hackers is going after schools.
Oh, I heard
why?
about that.
They're
Schools and the medical systems, like the MRI machines, I heard are a potential. It's like
they're a potential, but right now very big on the schools, and I'm talking about preschools, grammar schools, and high schools.
Ooh.
Not even colleges.
Yeah.
You might say, well, gee, why would they go after these places? They don't have any net worth. What do they have? A social security number? So what if they leak some information about the fact that they have cancer, leukemia? What would that do? What's that going to prove? What? So I got the feeling it has nothing to do with any of that. They're doing this so they can infiltrate them. So when they become older, they can just be right there as a buddy on the side and just captivate right into all their assets as they get older.
Wow. Yeah.
So that's why it's very important, just like we have HIPAA compliancy, that your data to your schools is kept very secure. But if schools are very tight and we know that they don't keep security up, how are you going to protect? I tell parents they should be checking their credit reports, even as a student, to make sure it's not getting affected. Some people don't find out till 10 or 12 years later that some bad actor opened a credit card in their name after they're 22.
Ooh.
But that's what's going on.
And Google your name every 3 months, 3 to 6 months.
Google your name, and I recommend not using Google, by the way. I recommend using DuckDuckGo. Google sells all your information to the highest bidder.
I heard they got compromised not too long ago.
Who's that?
DuckDuckGo.
No, so DuckDuckGo didn't get compromised. They were trying to get compromised. What happened was Google put a story out against them, and they tried to make a slash, but really nothing went wrong. They were trying to put them under the carpet, but DuckDuckGo did nothing wrong. DuckDuckGo only shares stuff that you want to receive info for, but they will never steal or snoop on your data. And, Google's just trying to use that big power they have.
Oh, yeah.
And that's the thing. But I think we're going to start to see right now that we're already starting to see parts of Google crumbling. We see parts of the executive team that are starting their own companies. I don't think Google's going to be the Google we know. I think it's going to be majorly breaking down. Their customer service is terrible. So, they have some free services, right? But what do they really give the world? Nothing.
No, not much. Other than bad algorithms.
Bad algorithms, and they decide whose page is going to come up. And
Yeah.
half the time, it's based on advertisers, and it has nothing to do with your credibility as a site.
Yeah.
So I think we as American people, Dr. Paul, have to make choices, and we have to be cognizant of what's going on. But it was a privilege and pleasure to be with you. I invite you to check out my link or believemeachieve.com and just stoop around some great stuff, I think, that'll really open up your eyes and
Yeah.
being aware to things that you didn't even think was possible.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. And let's definitely keep in touch because I am intrigued with some of the other work that you do. And
Thank you.
that could potentially open up some other topics for some other episodes.
Absolutely.
'Cause
Absolutely.
I've yet to. Well, there are a couple things on our Rumble channel that are quite conspiratorial. So,
Okay.
something that would get us kicked off of YouTube.
Well, we try to do it in a way that I'll say is politically correct,
Yeah.
but in a way that lets people know that this is what's going on. I mean, I brought ChatGPT on one of my shows,
Mm.
and people had a heart attack.
Well,
And the latest one I just did, I didn't bring the actual ChatGPT, the engine that I built, because the language I built was very rogue. It
yeah.
had no safety filters in it. It would curse at you. But I just proved that I could do it,
Yeah.
and that I made a local language model that would not be shared with the internet. So I think all the information we're building a repository, we just have to be careful who has access to this data. And what are they going to do with it? Look what's happened with ByteDance.
Oh,
If
yeah.
ByteDance doesn't get sold, which I think it's got to, it's getting shut down.
It has to. Yeah. It's one way or another. Yeah. Absolutely. Brother, I appreciate it, my friend. Thank you
I
for
as
your
well.
time.
It was a privilege and pleasure to be with you, Dr. Paul.
Likewise. But until next time, let's keep in touch.
Will do.
Absolutely. Cool. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in to The Seance. And until next time, we will see you next week.